am joined by a national star, quite honestly, from the NHL on TNT presentation, one of their researchers and producers. It is Chris Jastrzembski. What's going on today, Chris?
What's up, Bill? Great to see you, even though we're like, 27 streets away in Sea Isle?
We both found out that we are in Sea Isle this week and are like within like 30 blocks of each other, which is absolutely hilarious. But let's go back to the weekend, to the draft. We had our draft party at Chickies and Pete's, and the atmosphere was awesome. The Martone pick, everyone loved. The trade up, everyone loved. Brandon Graham is going to make the announcement. Everyone's excited. And then they announced Jack Nesbitt. What was your reaction to this? I'm not the biggest draft guy. I do some research, and it just seemed as if, a little bit of a reach, but maybe not industry-wide. How were you feeling about that first round overall?
So I think the first round, I was hoping for Hagens, but I'm happy with Martone. And now, like, looking back, hindsight, like, I really think Philly wanted McQueen because Nesbitt kind of fit the big 6+ foot center mold. But once McQueen got taken, and I think it seemed like I was reading reports that Vancouver had their eyes at Nesbitt at 15. Yeah. So as much as it was a reach, I think they got the guy that they were looking for. And, yeah, they could have gone with other safer options. But I think knowing that that was a need, I think that was fine. I'm not as, like, big as, like, oh, that was a reach. And then overall, like, I think we'll talk about the rest of the draft class for day 2. Like, you get big dudes, and I think that was a really good draft. As much as we have gone over the drafts, like, oh, here's a second round guy. We could get DeBrincat one in this draft, and we pass on him. You get, like, you want these top guys that are, like, best available, but as I've learned, you've got to trust the scouting departments inside the Flyers or whatever team that you're rooting for. And I think getting these big defensemen and big forwards, I think it's fine for the Flyers.
Yeah, just the draft overall. When Danny had, I think it was he and Brent Flair, their pre-draft press conference, they talked about, okay, so you've added Zegras, you already have a lot of undersized guys. Are you going to focus on size? And he's like, well, we think we have ways to protect them otherwise. We have Garnet Hathaway and Nick Delorier. And listen, I enjoy watching those dudes. But if they're on the ice at the same time as Matvei Mishkov, that's a loss. Like that's a real give and take there. To add these guys, loss. Yeah, to add these guys with size who might be able to play with a Bobby Brink or a Trevor Zegras. Like, okay, now you actually have that element in your game. So that was kind of my reaction to it. But I thought the second round, like, even talking to people who didn't love the Nesbitt pick. Like Rachel Dory, I interviewed her yesterday, and she was, I gave us an A- in the in her ESPN piece. Like, really, really liked this draft, and I do think it's about focusing on those big guys, but they all have upside. It's not as if they're just knuckle draggers out there. They all have some real skill.
Yeah, especially Mikko and Murtaugh are, I think, two of the guys that I was highlighting and seeing, like, freaking Mikko's 6'5". That's a big boy. And he's a right-handed shot, too, which there's not a lot of right-handed shot defensemen in this league. And that helps when you get him. Murtaugh, 6'1", he's 198. So they have the size that they can just add the LBs, and they got plenty of time because they're still young men, younger than us, sadly. I think this could be, they can add some depth. You're not going to ask them to be their top first line or second line or first pairing or second pairing, but maybe for Mikko's case, you could be that second pairing guy moving forward. And again, having that big size and that right-handed shot, like, I can't stress that enough. Like, I think before, like, yesterday or whenever this drops, Tuesday, free agency, I should say. Yeah. Aaron Ekblad, right-handed shot, big guy. Like, so many teams are hoping that Ekblad was going to go to free agency. And then Bill Zito, masterclass Bill Zito, once again, somehow doesn't win a GM of the Year award yet. Signs him and Marchand and Bennett, and we're trying to figure out how. But right-handed shot defenseman, and he's got size. I love that pick.
That's the thing is, you see what Ekblad signed for, and we have the taxes conversation all the time. And I think winning and nice weather have just as much to do with it. And then when you add the taxes, it's like, yeah, why would I leave? But like Aaron Ekblad, Charlie and I were talking leading up to free agency. I was like, oh yeah, I'm willing to go to like 9.5. I just think you need a guy like that. And you see he signs for what, 6.1. Yeah, Zito might have something there, but you just realize how important those players are. Even if maybe Aaron Ekblad isn't the best defenseman on Florida, they have so many good players. That's why they've won the East 3 years in a row. But you just look at what these guys, the value is around the league. Even if you recognize, all right, this isn't a superstar we're talking about here, just a really good defenseman. Oh yeah, I'm absolutely 9.5. Sure, why wouldn't I do that? And yeah, put that stock in these big guys with the right shots who you think might be able to eat some minutes for you down the road and just suffocate teams the way the Panthers do.
Yeah, and I think in Ekblad's case, the fact that he was like projected at like, I think AFP Analytics had him at $7.6 million or something like that, around 7.
Just over 7.5, I think.
Just nearly 8. But I think Frank Saravelli, because I was doing the Bleacher Report free agency stream on Tuesday, he mentioned that, if you're happy, and I think Ellie Freeman had done that too. One of these insiders, I don't know who, they're all the same people. They're the same person. Happiness, how do you, if you're happy, you're fine. Like if you're going to take that pay cut, and I think Florida wanted to have Sam Bennett take that pay cut, but you can't really ask that guy for a pay cut when he scores 16 goals in the playoffs and he fits the most road goals in a single postseason and he wins the Conn Smythe. Kind of can't have him been there. Ekblad, and if he's happy, and I think he definitely is happy, sign him. And then all of a sudden it's, hey, Brad, you take this deal, this team-friendly deal? Sure. Even though he's like, and I think like, I was thinking that Florida got really lucky with Marchand getting him to buy into a different kind of role when he was at that age and kind of reinvigorated his career. And maybe we all thought he was going to get a pay raise and definitely get a little one final paycheck, but the man's going to be like 43 years old when this contract expires. But I think like he will play his style. He might not score as much, but he will still play his style. And he just feels like a really great fit for Florida. They have all these guys locked up till like 2030. So, yeesh. I'm scared.
It is, just looking at it, like, yeah, they are doing their absolute best to keep the band together. And you even see teams like as recently as Tampa, who won the 3 prior Eastern Conference titles before Florida took over. Like, they weren't able to do what this is. And maybe they have a little bit more of that high end with Kucherov and Hedman and Point. So you have to give a little bit more on that side. But it was constantly, okay, we got to be refilling this depth. And can we keep Stamkos around? They weren't able to. There was just a constant, okay, how do we go from here to here? But yeah, Florida and Zito just seem like, oh, we're just going to keep it all together. Yeah, we'll have to fill in around the margins, but even that second, third line, we're not losing a ton. And he's doing a hell of a job. It's infuriating, honestly, watching another team do. Like, I want what they are so bad. I just want to be what they are so bad.
And that third line, I'll say, like, Luosterainen and Lundell. Like, Lundell is a draft guy. Luosterainen, I believe they got from a trade, if I'm not mistaken, from one of these teams. I'm not totally sure what, but he was not a draft pick at Carolina, of Florida's. He was a Carolina draft pick. Forsling was off waivers. Like, I think what Florida has done well, too, is trying to, like, not only, like, trade for these guys and similar to what Vegas has done and up there in the trade deadline, but also, developing some of these guys, too, like a Balinskis, a Mackie Samoskevich, I think will be really, really good for this team. He had a nice rookie season. And, they didn't have that many draft picks this year, but just having some of these solid draft picks that they can have available too, and developing these guys and having a deeper, their big thing is depth, obviously. Like when you have a top 9, like Verhaeghe, Barkov, Reinhart, Rodriguez, Bennett, Kachuk, and that third line, that's pretty damn good. And you keep the fourth line, Greer, Noshik, and Gadjevich the same as it was. So, like, they're really coming back, and essentially the only loss is Nate Schmidt. and that's Ubas Balinskis, and maybe Jeff Petrie, who comes in on a veteran contract, and he might be a very solid third pairing defenseman that can alternate with Balinskis. And Petrie has played the power play before. Granted, will he do it this time? Because you have Ekblad and Seth Jones and Balinskis. If he comes in, we'll see. But man, I wish I was. And they have Flyers legend Sergei Bobrovsky.
Oh, well, yeah, certainly. That's our constant, man. If we could go back and do one thing, it would just be, let's just redo 2011. What if we could just redo the summer of 2011 and fix that issue? But let's talk about the summer of 2025. Free agency opened yesterday, whenever this airs. It was July 1st. I was not shocked with the moves the Flyers made. I thought maybe they would go a different direction in net, maybe trade for somebody. The Dvorak signing, the Juleson signing makes sense. Tocchet guys. What did you think of the opening day of free agency for Philly?
Yeah, I was. I think the Dvorak signing, the first big one, second big one of our second signing overall of the day. I see the price tag. It's only 1 year. That being said, like I'm not really bothered by it. If you are able to trade him at the deadline and you eat half the salary, that's fine. And I'm not complaining that much. Like there could be worse signings at $5.4 million. Maybe a guy like Tanner Jeannot or something like that.
Yeah.
That was bad. And I have to.
Jeannot with term? You think that's bad?
Tanner Jeannot might be the biggest winner from the past 5 years, considering like he had one great year and he gets traded for 5 draft picks and then he gets signed for term and money. Like his agent and him, that's a masterclass there. Like that's a Bill Zito like masterclass for Jeannot's agent.
I talked about this with Rachel Dory yesterday. I was like, just the number of assets and now cash that have been spent on Tanner Jeannot because of one 24-goal, 100 penalty minute season it's astronomical. Like he had more goals in that one season than he's had since. It's kind of hilarious, but hell yeah, good for him. He gets some of that cash. That's real nice.
Yeah, so the Dvorak signing, I think, was the biggest piece. I think the second biggest piece was finding out the Tyson Forster injury.
That was something,
not totally sure. Yeah, not totally sure how long he'll be out for, if he's out for the entire year. But now that kind of like, now you got to figure out who's going to play on that top 6 and the winger side on the middle 6 on the left side. I'm looking at Puck Peter right now, and they have Tony Dick, our boy, Anthony Richard, and Rodrigo Albols, second and third line left wingers. Not sure about that. I'd like to see some of these younger guys step up and play. Maybe if it's a Dorwart, I know he's a center, a Grabenkin even. You'll see about what about Jet Luchenko? I know he's a center, but can he play a wing? Something like that. So I think that makes that discussion now a little bit more interesting now that Dvorak is that potentially fourth line center and he can play the wing as well. So maybe there is still like a discussion for a bottom line center, whether it's, a Jet Luchenko or a Grabenkin or somebody else. Goalie, I was a little bit interested about. I think signing Vladar, I think signifies a lot that Briere and company, they just don't like Fedotov and Kolosov, and I wouldn't be surprised if one of those two guys is not in the organization period before the start of the season. But I think seeing what happened last year, and it just did not feel right, especially when Harrison was hurt and going with a 3 goalie system when all 3 guys were healthy. Like I think going with Vladar and trying to get some sort of stability there was fine. I would have honestly liked to see a Matt Murray in Philly. I was thinking maybe him. I was thinking if he was there, maybe I was thinking Matt Murray to San Jose was going to be the best bet, and then they traded for Nedeljkovic. But he went to Seattle. It's still like a good – I was thinking about $1 million, 1 year proven deal, be a backup. Don't have to play that much. You're the number 2. But look, all 4 goalies now are going to be free agents, whether RFA or UFA after next season. So Yarthin's coming up. He's going to need a handful of years left. You got Zavragin in Russia. No idea when he's coming over.
Yeah, that's a nice big question mark. That's
another Russian goalie that we have no idea.
Seems like it'll be cool, but I'll worry about it when he gets here. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like my only like big question, like I'm happy that they got Noah Juleson, knowing that Ristolainen's going to be hurt potentially to start the season. Juleson is a right shot defenseman. I'm happy about that. Dennis Gilbert, depth guy. I'm just curious who, and I'm looking at Puck PD again. The bottom pair defenseman is Zamula and Andre. I'd like to see Andre play this year. I'd like to see Zamula play this year. I'm hoping that Juleson is that seventh defenseman. And now that's also with Ristolainen starting the season on IR. So once Ristolainen comes back, could somebody be on the move? But I would like to. I don't want to have a guy like Andre or even Zamula, a guy in the mid-20s and Andre in the early 20s, being that seventh line press box guy. And I believe Andre is still waivers exempt, so that helps. But, I would like to see Andre more with the big club this year than Lehigh Valley. And I think he could be that PP2 power play guy, the quarterback guy.
Yeah, we really liked what we saw out of Emil Andre, especially in his first stint last year. Then he gets sent down, I honestly think, because Charlie started calling him a top 4 NHL defenseman, and Torts was like, we're not going to let this kid's head blow up. We're sending him back to the A after like one bad game. And then his second time around, it didn't pop as much. He just didn't seem to have that same aggression, that same confidence moving the puck. So I just kind of want to give him a year to find out what the hell he is. He's still young. Yeah. There's still time. But we played this game so much, like, all right, well, there's time with Sanheim. There's time with York. And then before you know it, it's like, well, yeah, now they're RFAs. They're looking for their next contract. I want to be sure of what Emil Andre is before I, get through the entry-level deal, before I have to bridge him or sign him for 8 years or whatever it is. I just like to see him get some playing time in the NHL, consistent enough that we can say this is what we think he's going to be, and I'm hoping they feel the same way.
I'm hoping that too, and I'm curious how the York contract comes out whenever he signs. If he signs, I would assume that he will sign, but I'm curious to see how that will come out and see, what the defense pairings look like too come September, October training camp with Talk, but. Again, like I do want to see if there's one guy in the defense I'd like to see, it's without a doubt Andre, just to see like what he's got. And even Drysdale, like he's in a contract. Here's an RFA. He's got the right-handed shot too. But now this will be his first full year in Philadelphia. He'll have his buddy Zegras with him. Was this his first full year in Philadelphia or second full year in Philadelphia? I forget what we got. We traded Gauthier.
Oh wow!
Everything bleeds.
Seasons. This will be his second.
Was it really?
Season. Wow! It's been
yeah.
Time's flying.
Yeah.
Chris, when I'm seeing all these kids this year getting drafted, their 06, 07 birth years, I'm like, that was my senior year of high school. No, that can't possibly be. But yeah, here we are. Here it is. All right. How close are you monitoring Shabbanov? The Shabbanov watch. Right now, how closely?
That's the only thing I have worried about my life right now. Like, I don't care about taxes. I don't care about jobs. I don't care about, what's going on with my finances. It's honestly like I'm trying to see where Shabbanov lives, seeing any flight trackers, if he's going to like Newark. Well, if he is, bless his heart, because I don't think he's educated enough of how bad Newark is right now, LaGuardia or PHL or something like that. Like, Shabbanov watch is the only thing I'm worried about right now. But now I'm also, I don't really know, like, if Shabbanov's going to be, if he does sign, and hope he does, like, does that mean Dvorak is going to play the wing? And maybe if Shabbanov is at fourth line center? But I'd love to see Shabbanov. Just again, like another Russian. Jonesy, up the rubles. Get him over here. But, like, he is what? He's 24. He'll be 25 at the start of the season. He can also play right wing, too. That helps. So, we'll see. I would love to see Shabbanov over here. Again, would love to see more guys. I would have honestly loved to see Pew Suter, who was a guy that could do literally everything, whether it's left wing, center, right wing, left, right, center. Fun game. Power play, penalty kill. Would have loved to see. Maybe still an opportunity for him to come over, but I think term was going to be a problem, and not sure if you're going to have to pay him 3 or 4 years, and not sure if he's going to be in the long-term plans in 3 or 4 years. But I'm hoping Shabbanov could be someone that you could see for 2 years or 3 years and sign him over here.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to seeing if that does happen. And with the Forster injury, does feel like there's a little opportunity, whether it's for Shabbanov or an Alex Bump or whoever, to get a little bit more time than we may have been expecting, especially at the beginning of the year. All right, Chris, thank you so much for joining us. Let the people know where to find you.
You can find me on the Twitter. I don't call it the other name at Chris_Jast, Jast. And that's where I usually am interacting all the time. I think I'm on Blue Sky and Threads as well, but I'm not really doing that much. But I'm
trying to keep up the Blue Sky. It's just like, how much time do I need to spend on my phone?
Elliot's not on there, so it's tough for me. So,
Chris Jastrzembski from NHL on TNT, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Bill.
All right. And